So example 6, it says, what are measures of angles A and B? So they're asking for both angle measures. It doesn't matter which one you find first, you have to find them both. All right, so you can pick and choose which one you like better. It doesn't matter to me. So let's go with Esteban. Do you want to find A or B?
A.
All right, so Esteban wants to find angle A. So once he establishes that's what angle he wants to find, now that's the acute angle we're going to have to work with. Okay, we don't have any choices there. We have to work with A for right now. So we are dealing with a right triangle, so we can legally use SOHCAHTOA right triangle trigonometry to do this. For A, which side's opposite?
CB.
CB, the opposite side here is this. So, and notice the opposite side is not part of the problem, so it's probably not going to help us. But again, identifying it doesn't hurt. All right, what's the hypotenuse?
4.
Hypotenuse is 4, which means our adjacent side must be 1. All right, obviously I want to know A, right? What do I know? What do I know?
Where's 90 degrees?
The 90 degree, what numbers do I know?
4 and 1.
4 and 1, so I know the hypotenuse and I know the adjacent, and I'm working with SOHCAHTOA, right?
Cosine.
So, SOHCAHTOA is there, I know the adjacent and the hypotenuse, so cosine is going to be helpful. If Esteban had picked angle B instead of angle A, now this is the opposite side, and this is the adjacent side. Now opposite over hypotenuse will be using sine. All right, so again, it depends on which angle you pick, but once you pick an angle and establish which sides are these opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse, then you can see what you know to establish what trig function is helpful. So, I know cosine is going to help me, and if I write a good trigonometric expression down, I'm going to write cosine of what? Angle A, because again, that's the angle we picked. Cosine of A equals fraction bar, and the fraction is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse, so 1/4. Now, the last problem, we knew the angle measure. Our calculator could tell us what the tangent of 12 was. That's what we needed in the last problem, right? This problem, we don't have an angle measure, so our calculator doesn't know what cosine of A is. We know what cosine of A is. It's 1/4, right? So here's what you do to find an angle measure when you don't know the angle measure. Whatever trig function you're dealing with and you don't know the angle is going to equal the inverse trig function of the value that you have. So whatever cosine of A equals, we're going to do the inverse cosine of that number to find out what A is. And on your calculator, again on these gray calculators, you go to the same menu as trig, hit second pi, and then just punch the arrow button down. If you go below tangent, you'll see sine -1, cosine -1, tangent -1. My calculator actually has these buttons on this. You can see sine -1, cosine -1, tangent -1. So I want to do the inverse cosine of 1/4, second cosine 1/4, and my calculator spits out the angle measure that makes that happen. In this case, 75.52 degrees. A couple decimal places is fine with me. Now, suppose I want to find angle B. Okay, let's use SOHCAHTOA to find angle B as well, just to get some extra practice. So here's angle B. Now, what happens is this and this are going to swap, right? For angle B, that's the opposite side, that's the adjacent side. Right? Go across the triangle opposite for still the hypotenuse, so the side over here is the adjacent for angle B. And I'm going to be doing everything in red here. So again, what do I know here? I know the opposite and the hypotenuse, which tells me sine is going to be helpful in this scenario. So I know that sine of B equals 1/4. It still equals 1/4, but this time it's sine instead of cosine. So if sine of B is equal to 1/4, that means B is equal to the inverse sine of 1/4. And be careful with your calculator. There's a -1 power button here. That's not the same thing as an inverse sine. So make sure you actually have sine -1 parentheses. Make sure your calculator looks like that. Type in 1/4 in parentheses equals, and it comes out to 14.47 or 40 degrees. Now, what are the three angles supposed to add up to?
180.
180, right? So if I wanted to make sure I'm right, I've got my angle A, got my angle B. If I just do 90 plus this angle 75.52 plus that angle 14.48, they should equal 180. Rounding could make it 179.99, 180.01, but they should be right around 180. Again, if we start rounding, there's a possibility of an error. It usually doesn't happen much in these, but it could. The other thing I could mention here is once we knew A was equal to 75.52, once you know two angles, you could subtract from 180 to get the third angle also. If I'd done 180 minus 90 minus 75.52, that would have been 90 minus 75.52, which would be 14.48. Once you know two angles, you can always use the fact there's 180 degrees in a triangle to find the third. But again, I just wanted to get a little extra practice with SOHCAHTOA. So when you're trying to find an angle, you're going to know two sides. Which two sides you know determines which trig function is going to help you. And then your calculator will tell you what angle makes that trig function happen.